debates. The first one
in the
scheduled...
run-up to the visit of President Park to Washington, D.C., CS has held a series of events known as Korea Going Forward. Over the summer, we held a number of conferences about Korea, and in the past few weeks, we held a series of briefings for our friends and partners in town, previewing the visit of the President to Washington. And today, we're very honored to host the CSIS Statesman's Forum with President Park. Before we proceed, I want to take a moment to give a special thank you to our partners and friends for Korea Going Forward. We want to thank, in particular, our good friend and sponsor, Grosvenor Capital Management, as well as Amcor Technology and friends of the Korea Chair. Without their generous support, the Korea Going Forward series could not have happened. One note of logistics before we begin. We would like you to all remain at your seats after the President has finished her speech and until she has left the building. Andrew Schwartz is our Senior Vice President for External Relations, and he will inform you when to exit. And when he does inform you, we hope you will join a reception that we have in the atrium afterwards. Ladies and gentlemen, the common refrain today is that the U.S.-South Korea relationship is the best it's ever been. The greatness of the relationship stems not just from common interests, but common values and a deep reservoir of trust. President Park will meet with President Obama tomorrow morning. Confidence that policymakers and people here in Washington have with regard to Korea is due in no small part to our guest of honor tonight. So ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to the President of the Republic of Korea, Her Excellency Park Geun-hye, and CSIS President John Hamre.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for coming. This is an enormous privilege for us to be able to welcome President Park Geun-hye. She's been so generous to welcome us on numerous occasions to Blue House. It is just an enormous pleasure for us to welcome her here to CSIS. President Park, in some sense, personally embodies, the glory and the tragedy of Korea. She has an interesting history. She was a young student, graduated in electronics engineering. I didn't know that. Went to Grenoble, and it was there when she received an urgent message saying, you must return to Seoul as soon as possible. Nobody said why. And she arrived, she got off the airplane, she was walking by a newsstand and saw a picture of a newspaper that had her mother's picture on it and it said assassinated. It's the tragedy that Korea has had to endure, and she had to endure. She became the First Lady of Korea at the age of 22, and it was the starting point of a career that is still unfolding in a great and marvelous way. This summer, Korea went through yet another one of the great crises that periodically infects the peninsula. And it was a test. Every crisis has two crises. One involving the immediate effect, and the other is a question, will the government be up to this crisis? President Park proved she had all the strength that Korea needed to be successful, and may I humbly say, she won. So with your applause, would you please welcome and congratulate the President of the Republic of Korea, Park Geun-hye.
존 햄리 소장님 그리고
John
내외
Hamre,
이빈 여러분
ladies and gentlemen,
반갑습니다.
it is a pleasure to meet you.
오늘 이 자리를 마련해 주신
My thanks go out to the CSIS staff who worked so hard to organize this event.
저는 지난달 말
Late last month,
유엔 총회
I was in New York
참석차
to attend the United Nations General
2주 만에
Assembly.
다시
A fortnight
워싱턴을
later, here I am back in Washington, D.C.
서울과 뉴욕, 그리고
My
다시
trip between New York and
워싱턴
Seoul and back to Washington is testament to the Korea-US alliance, which is being guided by the founding vision and ideals of the United Nations, and which continues to evolve into an ever stronger and dynamic alliance. In my keynote address at the 70th UN General Assembly, I spelled out Korea's commitment to contribute to international peace, security, and shared prosperity. For Korea itself has been a beneficiary of the post-war order and a trusted partner of the United Nations. The journey Korea embarked on in the 7 decades since the war was a process of bringing to life the values and ideals of the United Nations and also history of the Korea-US alliance that continues to evolve. The Korea-US alliance was a steadfast buttress as Korea defended the values of democracy, the free market system, and human rights on the Korean peninsula and developed into a vibrant economy from the ashes of war. Our two countries have ventured together on this great journey spanning 70 years, and now we stand poised to make another leap forward. The journey ahead will be charted together by our two countries as staunch partners in the service of humanity. Distinguished guests, countless opportunities and challenges will await us along our quest. As our wealth grows with economic interdependence, and as the frontiers of space and technology are gradually pioneered, mankind in this era of hyperconnection has enjoyed unprecedented levels of abundance. But we know only too well that risks and challenges abound in our world. As threats both old and new become blended, problems both regional and global coexist, and the line between geopolitical and geoeconomic becomes blurred, these risks and challenges will only become more complex and multidimensional. We now live in a world where no country can remain untouched from the events that occur across the globe, as new threats of climate change, infectious diseases, violent extremism, and cyber attacks transpire across borders. From Syria to Yemen, Ukraine, and North Africa, many regions are ridden with strife. The result, 60 million refugees, the single largest humanitarian crisis since the end of World War II. Northeast Asia is not an exception. In my speech to a joint session of Congress 2.5 years ago, I pointed to the Asia paradox, a paradox that continues unabated. The phrase "return of geopolitics" no longer sounds out of place. Long-standing disputes and tensions are rearing their ugly heads, and the stage has expanded to include the seas, outer space, and cyberspace. 20 years ago, Dr. Brzezinski warned in his book, The Grand Chessboard, that Asia, as a potential political volcano, could erupt. Unless we carefully manage the situation, the economic dynamism of this region, which has led world growth for decades, could be severely impaired. One area where problems old and new are so intermeshed that finding a solution seems bewildering is none other than North Korea. Even as I speak, the eyes of the world are set on North Korea. The Korean peninsula stands at a crossroads in this month of October due to the possibility of strategic provocations. Distinguished guests, challenges and threats are arising on various planes: the Korean peninsula, Northeast Asia, and the global level. These form a complex vortex at the center of which lies the Korea-US alliance. Right here in Washington 2 years ago, President Obama and I laid out a vision on the way ahead for our alliance through the joint declaration of the 60th anniversary of the Korea-US alliance. That was a vision of our alliance, laying the groundwork for peace and unification on the Korean peninsula, promoting peace and cooperation in Northeast Asia, and moving towards a global partnership. The Korea-US alliance has been evolving into a resilient and dynamic alliance by creatively adapting to the shifting environment, both foreign and domestic. Now, our two countries are growing into partners as we display our joint leadership in issues of and beyond the regional scope. Our alliance has grown through mutual trust and has inspired each other. Now we will rise as an alliance leading the common good of humanity. For the last 2.5 years, Korea and the United States have creatively resolved all of our sensitive pending issues. We have reached an agreement on the condition-based transfer of wartime operational control, wrapped up negotiations for cost-sharing of U.S. Forces Korea, and upgraded our combined defense posture. The Korea-U.S. Civil Nuclear Cooperation Agreement, which was recently revised 43 years after originally entering into effect, constitutes one of the three major institutional frameworks of our alliance, along with the Korea-U.S. Mutual Defense Treaty and the Porous FTA. The nuclear agreement will not only enable advanced and mutually beneficial nuclear cooperation, but also contribute to joint ventures into foreign markets and help create jobs in both countries. Korea is also a key partner of the United States in its rebalance to Asia policy. Korea exhibits both characteristics of continental states and maritime states and is a geopolitical and geoeconomic strategic node in the region. As a nation that has overcome the devastation of war and abject poverty to achieve both economic development and democratization, Korea has the will and capacity greater than any other to contribute to regional peace and cooperation. Korea is building relations with fellow nations in the Northeast Asian region, not only through bilateral but also through mini-multilateral and multilateral cooperation. In 2 weeks, we will host the Korea-Japan-China Trilateral Summit in Seoul after a 3.5-year hiatus. The upcoming Trilateral Summit will be an important occasion to pursue peace and stability in Northeast Asia, as well as improve Korea-Japan relations. I hope this Trilateral Summit will provide an opportunity for Korea and Japan to clear away obstacles hindering closer bilateral ties and thus hold sincere discussions on the way forward towards a common future. Furthermore, I believe we must make newly consolidated efforts among Korea, US, and China in dealing with North Korean issues. Such diverse forms of trilateral diplomacy are a new endeavor in Northeast Asia, and these efforts will make valuable contributions to enhancing the bilateral and multilateral relations within the region. The Northeast Asia Peace and Cooperation Initiative, which I proposed in my 2013 address to a joint session of Congress, aims to accumulate a habit of cooperation and trust in Northeast Asia, the only region of the world that lacks mechanisms for multilateral cooperation. So far, there has been notable progress. We are holding discussions on concrete measures for cooperation in many fields including nuclear safety, health security, climate change, and disaster relief. This initiative is compatible with U.S. efforts in advancing regional multilateral cooperation mechanisms such as the ARF and EAS. This will, of course, also contribute to resolving the aforementioned Asia paradox. Economic prosperity is also vital to building peace within the region. Through the Porous FTA, Korea and the United States have triggered trade liberalization throughout the region and laid the foundations for new economic progress. In this context, Korea welcomes the TPP agreement reached last week. Having already signed trade agreements with 10 of the 12 TPP member countries, I believe Korea is a natural partner for the TPP as well. Distinguished guests, Korea and the United States are embarking on unprecedented partnerships in various fields of global health, development assistance, climate change, and peacekeeping operations. We have joined forces in fighting Ebola in Africa and countering MERS in Korea. At the second Global Health Security Initiative high-level meeting held in Seoul last month, we reached an agreement to support developing countries with capacity building to counter infectious diseases. As part of this effort, the Korean government committed to provide a total of $100 million to 13 developing countries. Korea and the United States are also working hand in hand to light the flame of hope in developing countries around the globe. The KOICA USAID MOU signed last year will be a stepping stone for countries like Ethiopia, Ghana, Vietnam, and Cambodia as they pursue a brighter future. 2 weeks ago, at the UN Sustainable Development Summit in New York, my government pledged $200 million over the next 5 years to fund the Better Life for Girls program, which will help improve the livelihood of girls in developing countries. On the topic of climate change, Korea will play its part to make the 2015 UN Climate Change Conference to be held in Paris a great success. Korea has led the founding of the Global Green Growth Institute and will faithfully implement our commitment of $100 million to the Green Climate Fund, which will help developing countries cope with climate change. Korea is an active participant in efforts to counter violent extremism and to alleviate the refugee issue. Our government is currently assisting refugees from Syria and neighboring countries. As the first Asian nation to enact a refugee law, we have granted humanitarian status to over 600 Syrian refugees in Korea. Korea is also participating in 2 counter-ISIL coalition working groups and has announced new commitments to provide engineering units and medical facilities for peacekeeping operations in the Middle East and Northern Africa. The G20 Summit, the Nuclear Security Summit, and the Global Health Security Agenda high-level meeting are all global initiatives launched by the United States and carried on to the next level by Korea. This pattern of collaboration between Korea and the United States on global issues demonstrates that the Korea-US alliance is indeed evolving into a global alliance. Distinguished guests, 25 years ago in October 1990, Germany was reunified. Yet, the division of Korea continues for 7 decades, and the Korean Peninsula remains the last vestige of the Cold War in this modern world. Vietnam, Myanmar, and now Cuba are all headed in the direction of reforms and open-door policy. Iran has struck a nuclear agreement. Yet, North Korea clings to the path of isolation by continuing its military provocations and development of nuclear capabilities. I believe the Korea-US alliance must exert our leadership in inducing North Korea to abandon its nuclear program, open up to the world, and undertake internal reforms. And in this process of dealing with North Korea, consistently adhering to the principles of our North Korea policy will be the most certain way to bring about a sustainable peace on the Korean Peninsula. But at the same time, we must not burn all our bridges for dialogue and cooperation. We must not allow political and military issues to force us to turn our backs on the humanitarian situation in North Korea. Around this time of year 4 years ago, I wrote an article in the prestigious Foreign Affairs outlining my thoughts on a new kind of Korea. And last year in my speech at Dresden, Germany, I proposed 3 agendas as ways to establish peace and lay the foundations for unification. The agenda for humanity, the agenda for post-prosperity, and the agenda for integration. I sincerely hope the new Korea will be a place where freedom and dignity is guaranteed for all and all can realize their dreams. The ultimate path to creating such a Korean peninsula is none other than unification. Unification will transform this divided peninsula into a land of opportunity. A unified Korea will be a generator of peace. No longer will nuclear weapons and long-range missiles target our neighbors. A unified Korea will be a stalwart guardian of freedom, democracy, and human rights. These universal values of humanity will not only spread across the Korean peninsula, but radiate from the peninsula to the far corners of the earth. A unified Korea will be a promoter of prosperity. The diligent and creative peoples of both Koreas will come together to create new economic opportunities on the Korean peninsula, in the region, and beyond. So far, the Korea-US alliance has written miraculous success stories in the southern half of the peninsula. Now is the time to spread our history of creating miracles to the entire peninsula. The Korea-US alliance, which will be upgraded through unification, will continue to evolve into an alliance which stands for humanity. Distinguished guests, the world we live in is at a crucial crossroads. Depending on how we respond, we can venture into the new frontier that mankind has but dreamt about, or we can fall into stagnation and decline. For the last 70 years, the Korea-US alliance has always stood on the right side of history and has overcome countless difficulties and challenges to achieve great accomplishments. Our two countries will be trustworthy companions as humanity ventures the road towards a future of hope to open the gates of peace. I have the utmost confidence that you will all join us on this journey of hope. Thank you.
We've got a little bit of logistics to go through. We've got to take this down, so just take a minute, a little bit of a breather, and then we will start a little Q&A period. So just why don't we come up and get the hardware.
먼저 무대 위에 있는 연단을 치우고 나서 질의응답 시간을 갖도록 하겠습니다.
We're in the final stages, so let me just say how I was moved by your speech, Madam President. I have a Korean godson, so I offer prayers every day for him and for Korea, and I'm so proud to have you as the leader. Thank you. We chose to use modern technology to get questions for today. So we tweeted to people and said, if you've got questions, please let us know, and then we will pick them out. And I've got 4 questions that I'm going to ask that have been submitted by our audience. Would welcome your response to them. I think several of the people who have submitted questions may be here. One is Stanley Roth, and I know Stanley's here. He wrote this. He said, when you entered office, you launched a major new initiative, Trust Politique, in an effort to enhance security on the peninsula, but North Korea has regrettably not accepted it and instead has undertaken a number of destabilizing activities. In that light, what steps can the Republic of Korea and the United States take now together to enhance deterrence on the Korean peninsula?
아까 대통령님께서 해주신 연설에 아주 깊은 인상을 받았습니다. 저는 사실 한국인의 대부이기도 하고 한국을 위해서 따라서 항상 기도하고 있습니다. 오늘 이 자리는 현대 기술을 활용해서 질의응답 시간을 갖기로 했는데요. 예컨대 저희가 트위터를 활용해가지고 여러 사람들의 질문을 트위터를 통해가지고 받기로 했고 그 중에 4개를 추려서 오늘 이 자리에서 공유하도록 하고 또 대통령님의 그 질문에 대한 답변을 기대하도록 하겠습니다. 사실 이 자리에는 그 질문을 해주신 분들도 함께 참석하고 계십니다. 첫 번째 질문입니다. 대통령님께서 취임하신 이후에 한반도 신뢰 프로세스를 추진하시면서 한반도의 안보를 제고하기 위해서 이렇게 신뢰 프로세스를 추진하셨는데 안타깝게도 북한에서 그것을 수용하지 않고 있고 오히려 불안정을 더 높이는 그런 행동을 취하고 있습니다. 앞으로 한국과 미국이 어떻게 하면 한반도에서 억지력을 제고할 수 있을지 그런 노력 부분에 대해서 말씀을 해주시면 감사하겠습니다.
한반도 신뢰 프로세스는 뭐 아시겠지만 다시 한번 간단히 말씀을 드리면 북한의 그 도발 이거에 대해서는 아주 강력하게 단호하게 대응을 하고 또 그러나 한편으로는 대화의 문을 열어놓고 어떤 신뢰를 쌓아가는 노력을 계속 해 나가겠다. 그래서 그 한반도의 어떤 그 안정을 지켜 나가겠다는 이런 내용으로 돼 있는데 지난 8월 달에 북한의 그 DMZ에서의 도발이 있을 때 그 원칙이 그대로 적용이 됐습니다. 북한의 도발에 대해서 여러 가지 협박이 있었고 또 말 못할 그런 그 도발 같은 것도 막 협박이 있었지만 우리는 이 원칙을 단호하게 지키면서 어떤 경우든지 여기에 대해서는 북한이 그만한 대가를 치러야 된다. 그래서 예를 들면 확성기 같은 것도 우리가 아무리 협박을 해도 그거를 끄지를 않았습니다. 그리고 계속 북한하고 협상을 했고 오히려 그렇게 단호하게 원칙을 지키니까 오히려 대화를 하는 길이 열렸습니다. 역설적이게도. 그래서 대화의 장으로 북한이 나옴으로써 우리가 북한하고 회담을 하고 또 거기에 대해서 북한의 사과를 받아내고 또 여러 가지 다른 조치들도 취할 수가 있었습니다. 그래서 이런 실천을 한 것이 지난번 8월 달에 DMZ 도발이었고 또 동시에 그리고 또 그런 대응이 정말 유효하다 하는 것을 보여줬다고 생각을 합니다. 또 이 북한이 지금 도발을 안 하는 게 아니라 좀 억지가 되어 있는데 그것은 말하자면 한미의 강력한 연합 방위력뿐만 아니라 또 북한 핵 문제나 이런 도발에 대해서는 중국, 러시아까지도
순차 통역이라 가지고 처음부터
순차 통역이군요.
예.
예.
As I'm sure you know, the
다
Korean.
이해하시는 줄 알고 열심히 얘기했는데
You know, I've
좀
been remiss. I
억울합니다.
thought it was all being simultaneously interpreted. So, as I'm sure all of you know, the Korean Peninsula trust building process, just to repeat the gist of it, is about responding decisively to North Korea's provocations, but at the same time keeping the door open to dialogue, and in that process, enhancing the degree of trust between the two Koreas. And we remain committed to continuing on with this effort. And so it's about seeking to uphold stability on the Korean Peninsula. And with regard to North Korea's recent provocations inside the DMZ this August, we had, in fact, applied in its entirety this principle, the trust-building process principle, in our response to North Korea's threats and belligerence. In fact, they would engage in unspeakable acts of belligerence and threatening words, but we responded. Again, we pushed back very decisively, and we made sure that they realized that they would have to pay a price for whatever provocative acts that they engaged in. For instance, we made sure not to turn off the loudspeakers despite their threatening blackmailing if we were to continue to move forward with the loudspeakers. So we made sure we kept them on. And so, as a matter of fact, because we held firmly to these principles, we've seen how that firmness actually paved the way to dialogue, paradoxically, and how that dialogue in turn led to meetings that in turn led to an apology being issued on the part of North Korea, as well as agreements on other steps as well. So this, in fact, is evidence of how we've actually put to action the the Korean Peninsula peace building, the trust building process. This is how we responded to North Korea's recent provocations. So I believe the recent instance shows that our response actually works. This trust building process actually works. And all of this has been predicated on a very robust combined defense posture. And we've also made sure that there was close international unity that includes not just Korea, Japan, and the United States, but also the Chinese and the Russians.
그래서 결국은 이제 중국, 러시아까지도 북의 도발에 대해서 이제 강력하게 반대를 하고 이런 국제 어떤 공조가 이제 억지를 하고 있는 것인데 북한으로 하여금 결국은 그 어떤 도발도 핵 개발도 이게 다 무용지물이다. 이 전략적으로 전혀 도움이 안 되는 미래가 보이지 않는 그런 방법이다 하는 것을 좀 깨닫게 하는 그런 것이 가장 좋은 길이고 그렇게 하기 위해서는 국제 공조 또 이런 도발에 대해서는 어떤 원칙이 있는 대응 그리고 그럼으로써 도발과 보상 또 도발하면 또 보상하고 하는 이 악순환의 고리를 끊는 이런 노력들이 앞으로도 좀 일관되게 지켜져야 된다고 생각합니다.
And the Russians themselves have also expressed their vehement opposition to North Korea's provocations. And so this demonstrated the importance of international coordination in terms of deterring North Korean behavior. And it also impressed upon the North Koreans that the development of nuclear weapons capabilities is in fact an exercise in futility, and it really does not serve their future either. So we've sought to make them realize that point. And again, I stress the importance of international coordination and the importance of maintaining a principled stance and response, and to make sure that we seek to put an end to the vicious cycle of rewarded provocations. And this is what we plan to remain committed to as we go forward.
그래서 우리가 핵을 포기할 때에는 어떤 경제적인 지원이라든가 북한의 개발을 돕기 위해서 남한은 물론 국제사회와 힘을 합해서 그렇게 돕겠다 하는 얘기를 많이 했지만 북한이 핵을 포기할 생각이 없기 때문에 이것이 효과를 보지를 못하고 있습니다. 그렇기 때문에 먼저 국제사회에서 고립돼서 이런 도발로서는 전혀 미래가 보이지 않는다는 이것을 국제 공조를 통해서 확실하게 함으로써 전략적으로 북한이 핵을 포기할 수밖에 없는 그런 것을 만들어야 그다음에 또 그 북한에 대한 지원이라든가 이런 것도 우리가 핵 포기 시엔 하겠다 하는 것이 효과를 볼 수 있지 않을까 하는 그런 생각입니다.
And we also make it clear to them that should they abandon their nuclear aspirations, then there will be forthcoming economic assistance and also other development assistance that will be furnished not just by South Korea, by the Republic of Korea, but also with the international community as well. But sadly, we see apparently how they seem to have no intention whatsoever of abandoning or forswearing their nuclear aspirations, and hence our approach doesn't seem to be working as we hope. So what needs to be done is to make sure that they realize that by incurring deeper isolation upon themselves and seeing no brighter future for them, I think we need to engage in international coordination so that they realize that, so that they are left with no choice but to abandon their nuclear aspirations, and only then can they expect to see greater international support forthcoming.
Thank you, Madam President. David Maxwell over at Georgetown University wrote about unification. You talked about unification, but his question is, what are the critical obstacles that must be overcome to achieve unification? This is one of those things we know will happen, but we don't know what we have to do to overcome it. What would be your response?
예, 조지타운 대에 계시는 맥스웰 교수께서, 데이빗 맥스웰 교수께서 이제 통일에 대해서 질문을 했는데요. 앞으로 통일을 이루기 위해서 어떤 장애물들을 극복해야 할지, 예견되는 사실 장애물들이 여러 가지가 있는데 그것을 어떻게 극복해야 되는지에 대한 답이 없는 것 같습니다. 그래서 장애물들을 어떻게 극복할지에 대한 답변을 부탁드립니다.
첫 번 질문에 드린 답하고 조금 겹치는데 사실은 통일 논의를 북한하고 예를 들어 하려고 한다면 우선 원칙을 지키는 게 중요할 것 같습니다. 도발하면 또 보상하고 또 도발하면 보상하고 이런 악순환이 계속된다면은 이 통일 논의 자체가 실종될 수밖에 없다고 봅니다.
I have to say that my response to this question partially overlaps with my answer to the first question. If we are to engage in discussions about unification with North Korea, it's imperative that we have a degree of principles, or that the discussions be defined by principles. I say this because if we see a situation where North Korea's provocations are met with rewards and we have this ongoing vicious cycle, then the very idea of discussing the notion of unification would be lost.
또 그러면서 동시에 그런 강력한 어떤 원칙과 또 억지력을 갖고 있는 상황에서 남북 주민 간의 어떤 그 동질성 회복을 위한 노력도 필요하다고 생각을 합니다. 70년을 이렇게 떨어져 있었거든요. 그래서 우선 비정치적인 문화라든가 또는 그 스포츠라든가 또 환경 문제라든가 뭐 하여튼 그런 분야에서 계속 그 남북 주민들이 교류를 해서 좀 이질성을 극복하고 동질감을 회복하는 그런 노력이 필요하다고 생각합니다.
Even as we make sure we maintain a principled approach to North Korea on the basis of robust deterrence vis-a-vis North Korea, I also feel it's important for the people of South and North Korea to be able to restore a sense of common identity, a sense of homogeneity. This is important because after 70 years of division, especially in light of the 70 years of division that we've been suffering, I think it's important for us to pursue greater interactions in non-political fronts, for instance, cultural and sports exchanges, as well as exchanges on the environmental front as well. And by doing so, by further promoting interactions among the South and North Korean people, we can hope to overcome the divide that has defined the peninsula and thereby restore a sense of homogeneity.
그리고 우리는 또 그 어떤 인도주의적인 차원에서 북한의 그 농촌을 복합적으로 좀 이렇게 그 개발하는, 그래서 삶의 질을, 주민들의 삶의 질을 높이는 그런 그 지원도 이제 하고 있는데 뭐 어떤 거는 또 북한이 안 받아들이고 그래서 그런 지원도 뭐 우리가 원하는 대로 이렇게 되는 것도 아닙니다, 사실은.
So from a humanitarian perspective, we're also seeking to provide assistance to North Korea that would assist them in terms of rural development and more holistic development in their rural regions that would also in turn redound to improving the quality of life among the North Korean people. At times we see the North Koreans refusing to accept such gestures or overtures. So even when it comes to humanitarian assistance, we see how we're not able to really carry out things as we desire.
그리고 이제 마지막으로 역시 북한이 핵을 포기해야 된다는 전제가 있습니다. 근데 그것은 아까도 말씀드렸듯이 그 여러 가지 그 핵을 갖고 있는 것이 아무 소용이 없다. 또 국제사회에 고립만 되고 전 세계를 등을 돌리게 된다는 결국은 국제사회의 공조 속에서 북한이 핵을 포기하는 전략을 택하도록 하는 길밖에 없지 않나 생각을 합니다.
And lastly, I would say that all of this is predicated on North Korea, in fact, abandoning its nuclear aspirations. As I mentioned before, it's important that they realize that pursuing nuclear weapons is an exercise in futility and that it merely deepens their own self-isolation and it turns their backs on the rest of the world. So again, it's very important that the international community stands united in sending the message so that they have no choice but to forego their nuclear weapons capabilities.
Madam President, Don Manzullo, Congressman Manzullo, who is the president and CEO of the Korean Economic Institute, placed this question. Both Korea and the United States are right now plagued with high unemployment and underemployment, especially with young people. Korea has the added problem that it has a very low birth rate. Can you tell us what ideas you have to address this critical problem for your country and what role, if any, the government can play in finding a solution?
예, 저기 KEI 한국경제연구소 소장께서 제기해 주신 질문인데요. 지금 현재 한국 경제가 아주 높은 실업 그리고 저고용의 상황에 직면해 있는 것으로 알고 있고 특히 청소년 같은 경우에 더더욱 심각한 것으로 알고 있습니다. 거기에다가 한국은 저출산, 아주 심각한 저출산 현상에 직면해 있는데 한국에서는 어떠한 이런 어떤 도전에 대응하기 위해서 어떠한 대응책을 생각하고 있으며 특히 여기에 대응하는 데 있어서 정부의 역할에 대해서 어떻게 생각하시는지 여쭙고 싶습니다.
지금 이제 그 저성장이 지속되면서 고용 창출 능력이 상당히 그 저하되고 있고 또 이 청년들 경우에 예를 들면은 구직을 하는 청년들과 또 구인을 하는 그 어떤 산업체나 이런 쪽에서 미스매치 현상이 좀 일어나고 있는 것도 하나의 문제고 또 큰 원인 중에 하나가 노동시장이 경직되어 있다는 그 세 가지를 우선 꼽을 수가 있겠습니다.
I think I can point out three factors that can explain partially why we see such phenomena in Korea. The first being the ongoing continuation of a tendency of low growth in the Korean economy, which in turn lowers the ability of the economy to create jobs, more jobs. Second is the mismatch between young people that are seeking jobs and the businesses that are seeking to find and place jobs or to fill those jobs. And third is the rigidity that we see in our labor markets.
그래서 그 어떤 새로운 일자리를 이렇게 자꾸 창출해내기 위해서 이제 한국에서는 경제혁신 3개년 계획 또 그 안에 창조 경제를 가지고 어떤 경제의 패러다임을 바꿔 나가는 노력을 하고 있습니다. 그래서 기존의 어떤 산업하고 ICT라든가 또 기존의 산업하고 문화라든가 이런 다양한 그 접목 융합을 통해서 어떤 새로운 그 스타일의 일자리가 나오도록 그렇게 지금 많은 노력을 기울이고 있고 또 특히 그 서비스 분야에서 많은 일자리가 나올 수 있는데 그거에 있어서 정부로서는 규제를 이제 과감하게 풀기 위한 노력을 지금 하고 있고 또 국회 쪽에도 그 관련되는 산업을 규제하는 이런 법들을 좀 과감하게 풀어달라 하는 그런 그 요청을 계속 하고 있습니다.
In order to further create new jobs, we've also undertaken what we call the 3-year plan for economic innovation, a key centerpiece of which is the Creative Economy Initiative. And through this initiative, we're seeking to transform our economic paradigm. For instance, we seek to marry ICT with existing industries, to marry culture with existing industries, and thereby promote convergence, and also thereby create and come up with new style jobs. And so we're working to bring that about. In particular, I would make mention of the service sectors, which obviously has very high potential for creating jobs. We're seeking to boldly cut red tape so that we can unleash more jobs in the services sector. And we're also calling upon our National Assembly to, again, boldly remove regulatory barriers and to also pass legislation that would allow for such deregulation in the service sector.
그리고 미스매치를 해결하기 위해서 그 사회나 산업체나 사회에서 필요로 하는 그런 인재, 맞춤형 어떤 인재를 자꾸 키워내기 위해서 많은 노력을 하고 있습니다. 뭐 일학습 병행제라든가 또는 NCS 개발이라든가 또 뭐 여러 가지 다양한 정책들을 통해서 그 사회가 필요로 하는 그 인재들을 키워내는 그런 노력을 많이 하고 있습니다. 예를 들어서 인문학을 공부했다. 그 훌륭한 학문이지만 그냥 인문학만 그 공부하고는 갑자기 어디를 그 취업하기가 쉽지 않습니다. 그렇다면 뭐 코딩 교육을 한다든지 거기에 또 그 사회적인 어떤 수요가 있는가 인문학을 공부한 학생들에게 그런 걸 맞춰가지고 또 제공을 해주고 하는 그런 그 노력들 예를 들면 그렇게 하고 있습니다.
In order to deal with the issue of mismatch that bedevils the Korean economy, we are seeking to cultivate the kind of human talent that meets the expectations and demands of society and industry, and we're working to cultivate such talent. For instance, we're seeking to pursue the dual system of learning and working, of allowing learning and working at the same time. We're also seeking to institute a national competency standard system, and so we are in fact undertaking multiple arrays of policies to alleviate the issue of mismatch and thereby also come up with human talent that can better cater to social needs, the broader social needs. For instance, people that study the humanities, obviously the humanities in and of itself is a very, it's a remarkable, admirable academic pursuit, but one cannot readily land a job by studying humanities, and hence we can provide them with coding education or coding training, or also furnish them with various educational opportunities that better cater to the needs of society.
그리고 노동 시장의 경직성을 완화하기 위해서 지난번에 노사정위원회가 몇 개월을 정말 씨름하면서 어렵게 그 대타협을 이루어냈습니다. 이제 그를 통해서 정부에서도 지침을 만들고 또 국회에서도 관련된 법안이 통과되고 하면 한국의 그 노동 시장의 안정성, 유연성이 제고될 거라고 생각합니다.
And as for mitigating rigidity in our labor market, I would note that the tripartite Labor Management Government Commission has been struggling for the past few months to work out a compromise, and they have succeeded in coming up with a compromise. So once pursuant to that compromise, once the government institutes various guidelines and the National Assembly also passes the relevant legislation, I think we can be confident in looking forward to greater flexibility as well as security in our labor markets.
I have one last question, and it was submitted by Glenn Fukushima over at the Center for American Progress. He submitted it before your speech, and you spoke about tension in history issues in Northeast Asia, and he wrote about that. So let me just ask a couple of very specific things. Do you envision that there's a chance for a formal bilateral summit between you and Prime Minister Abe? And what role, if any, can the United States play to encourage closer ties between Korea and Japan?
끝으로 미국 진보센터에 계시는 분께서 제기하신 질문을 여쭙겠습니다. 아까 이제 사실 대통령님 연설 전에 이분께서 질문을 하셨는데 동북아에서 역사적인 것과 관련된 긴장이 굉장히 만연해 있다는 것과 관련해서 대통령님께서는 앞으로 아베 총리와 공식적인 정상회담, 양자 정상회담을 갖는 것에 대해서 어떻게 전망을 하고 계시는지요? 그리고 보다 긴밀한 한일 관계를 위해서 미국이 어떠한 역할을 수행할 수 있다고 보시는지 여쭙고 싶습니다.
이번에 이제 그 3국 정상회담이 이제 3년 만에 한국이 이렇게 주선을 해서 11월 초에 이제 열리게 될 예정으로 있습니다. 그런 노력은 한국 측의 노력은 이제 동북아의 그 평화를 위해서도 꼭 필요하고 또 그걸 통해서 양자 간의 관계 개선도 또 이루어질 수 있다 하는 이제 기대를 가지고 있습니다. 그래서 아베 총리하고 뭐 정상회담을 또 그 기회에 가질 수 있다고 생각을 합니다. 먼저.
The trilateral summit meeting among Korea, Japan, and China is slated to be held in early November, and this is being held for the first time in 3 years under the initiative of the Korean government. And the reason the Korean government had endeavored to bring that about was not only to serve the cause of peace in Northeast Asia, but because we had expectations that such a trilateral gathering would redound to improving bilateral relations within the region as well. And as for the question about holding a bilateral summit meeting with Prime Minister Abe, I do feel that I can have such a meeting with him.
그러나 이제 그 회담이 열리게 됐을 때 그것이 이제 그 양국 간의 그 미래 지향적으로 그걸 계기로 해서 이제 변화되면서 발전해 나가야 이게 의미가 있는 회담이 되지 않겠습니까?
But in order for such a meeting to be really significant, I think it's important that the two countries be able to move towards a more future-oriented change in our relationship, if that meeting is to have real significance.
그래서 한국 국민들이 굉장히 큰 관심을 갖고 있고 또 그래서 양국 간의 그 중요한 그 현안이 되고 있는 예를 들면 위안부 피해자 할머니들의 문제, 그분들이 이제 연세가 평균 거의 90이 되시고 또 올해만도 거의 한 9분이 돌아가셔가지고 그 많던 분들이 지금 한 45분, 47분밖에 남지를 않았습니다. 사실은 시간도 없어요. 그래서 그런 분들의 한도 좀 풀어드리고 또 우리 국민들의 아주 지대한 관심을 갖고 있는 이 문제도 어떤 진전이 있게 된다면 의미 있는 정상회담이 될 수 있지 않을까 생각합니다.
The Korean people are keenly following this upcoming meeting. And for instance, I would note the issue of the comfort woman victims, which is a very important issue at the moment, outstanding issue. Most of these comfort woman victims are now nearly in their 90s, and just this year alone, we've seen 9 comfort woman victims pass away, and we currently only have 47 remaining survivors. So literally, we really don't have much time in terms of dealing with this issue and making sure that we can bring closure to their pent-up agony. And so the Korean people, again, are following this issue with great interest and keen interest. And once we're able to make progress on this issue, I think it's fair to say that a meeting that does lead to a progress on this issue can be characterized as a meaningful meeting.
Before I let you say thank you with your applause, let me just say for security reasons, I'm going to have to ask you to stay in the room. After the president leaves, we will get her out to her car so that she's safely on her way. She's got more meetings. You and I are going home, you know, but she's got more meetings. And so I need you to just stay here. And when we're done, they'll open up the doors in the back. We have refreshments, and we invite you to stay for a few minutes to reflect on these wonderful observations. Madam President, you're a leader. You are a real leader. And I think we all want to say thank you for what you're doing, and we want to thank you for being with us today. Would you please thank the President?
진정한 지도자가 되신 박근혜 대통령께 감사드립니다.
I'm the leading state sponsor of terrorism.